The market had a pretty bad day today as a lot of stocks got destroyed, as we can see. In this video, we have some big news to talk about related to Tesla because this thing is about to go crazy. And there's also just a jaw-dropping headline that we saw today in the cryptocurrency space as Bitcoin and other currencies just get destroyed. We have a lot to talk about today. Stick with us. We're going to get right to the point. But Tom, what is going on in this crazy market?
Yeah, it was a crazy day. Like you said, stocks were down across the board. As we can see here on the heat map, lots of stocks were down. Google, Amazon, Meta, Apple, Microsoft. We did have some stocks green like Pfizer, which they had some good news with their COVID vaccines and stuff like that. But across the board, most stocks were in the red here. We can see SPY actually closed red. Momentarily, they were green just for a second as they got rejected at that 380 resistance today. But we had a pretty bad morning. Then we recovered all the way up, then started selling right back off again. So really crazy up and down type of day. Like I said, stocks were kind of mixed, but mostly in the red. Meta was down. I noticed Nvidia was down quite a bit along with AMD. A lot of those semiconductor stocks, Mike, were down quite a bit. But one of the notable stocks was Tesla, of course. They weren't down that much, but people are really keeping their eyes on these delivery numbers coming up later this week. I believe they're coming out on Saturday, July 2nd, but all these articles just keep saying later this week. So we'll have to see exactly when they come out. But there's a lot of different, I should say, like analyst expectations with these deliveries. We can see that like Deutsche Bank has an expectation of 245,000, while FactSet, for example, has an expectation of 265,000. So we'll have to see how these deliveries go, Mike. It's obviously going to be huge for Tesla. They've been facing a lot of issues in Shanghai with all the lockdowns and everything like that going on, as well as like semiconductor problems and chip delays and just inflation problems in general. So we'll have to see how this event ends up going.
Exactly. So, Tom, check out the previous quarter's deliveries on Tesla. They had 310,000 deliveries, and now they're only expected to have like 265,000 deliveries, depending on the analysts. Some estimates are a lot lower than that, and some are a little bit higher, but this is a pretty significant difference, and it's not fully Tesla's fault. You know, it's when they're kind of forced to shut down one of their factories, it's like you can't really do too much about it. But either way, it's going to be interesting. Tesla's stock is about to move in a giant way.
Yeah, it really is. And it's actually coming as Elon hasn't tweeted for over a week right now as he hit 100 million followers. Pretty insane to see that he hasn't tweeted in over a week, at least as of June 28th. So pretty crazy, Mike. I cannot believe that he hasn't tweeted. He's obviously been someone who's used Twitter a lot, and I know he's gotten a lot of flack for it. So he's probably taking a bit of a break right now as he's trying to acquire Twitter. I'm sure that Twitter doesn't want him tweeting anymore either. But yeah, this is a pretty big deal, Mike. These delivery numbers are always important. Like you said, there's a lot of issues right now, and a lot of these analysts have that expectation lower than the last one. That was pretty crazy to see pretty much across the board, almost like an average right now expectation of 250,000 when the last quarter was 310. That's a pretty big difference there, Mike. And if it comes in under like 250,000 or in Deutsche Bank's prediction there, under 245,000, I think we could end up seeing a pretty big sell-off out of Tesla and possibly a lot of tech stocks because as we know, tech has been shaky lately in general.
Yeah, so it's going to be a wild ride for Tesla. Tom, looking at Tesla's technicals, I could see they're just below that $700 resistance mark. They're still above the 650 support. They were down around 2% today. Like I said, right now they're right above 650. They're at like 673. This week they had highs of around 756. What are your thoughts on like the current trend with Tesla and maybe some important levels to watch?
Yeah, it does look like they're forming a bit of support here, Mike, like right around this low of like 670, maybe 667, like you mentioned there. I think that could be a pretty good support. If we do end up breaking below this, I think Tesla might end up selling off tomorrow, heading into these delivery numbers. Obviously, Mike, people aren't expecting these numbers to be good with all the lockdowns in Shanghai and everything like that going on. So looking at the price, in my opinion, I think we might end up taking a dip back down. I'm really going to watch for that break below 667. If I see that tomorrow, I might end up firing some puts on Tesla, which I usually don't do. Those options are usually pretty expensive, but who knows? It might end up being a pretty good play if we see it break down.
All right, Tom, we have to look at Bitcoin. It has been brutal. Like, it's been bad. And I know a lot of even hedge funds are really struggling with the price falling this low. Right now, Bitcoin is down to $19,000, and it's putting a ton of pressure on companies in that industry. Check out the kind of scary news for BlockFi. It's ridiculous. So, FTX, Tom, is set to acquire BlockFi for $25 million in a fire sale. Now, there are some news, like the BlockFi CEO saying that basically is not going to happen. Like, they're saying the company's not going to sell for $25 million. For those of you who don't know, BlockFi is like a multi-billion-dollar company. So obviously, reading a headline for a fire sale for $25 million is just insane. So, yeah, like you said, you could see BlockFi's most recent private valuation was $4.8 billion.
Yeah, that's pretty insane, Mike. And I can't believe that they're buying it at a 99% discount, or at least that's what the rumor was. So yeah, I'm not surprised, Mike, that they're refuting this. And it's kind of crazy because FTX has had some pretty crazy statements come out lately that have been refuted. You know, like this obviously is going on with BlockFi. It actually happened with Robinhood earlier in the week, where it came out where FTX was apparently rumored to be trying to acquire Robinhood. And now that came out and FTX said that was fake too. So very interesting, Mike. I can't believe that all these acquisitions, I guess, are going on with FTX. But nonetheless, you know, I'm sure that caused some volatility today in the crypto market. And like you said, crypto's just been going crazy in general. I feel kind of bad that Bitcoin's down this low. Today, we took a pretty bad tumble. Looks like we're heading back towards that $18,000 support down there.
Yeah, it's been really rough. Like, even some of these top hedge funds have been, having to trim their positions, and some have even been getting margin called, let alone all of the individual traders and investors out there. So that's been tough. Tom, what do we have on the schedule for the rest of the week?
Yeah, we still have some pretty big data coming out tomorrow. So we're going to have the personal income month over month for June coming out, as well as personal spending. So that's going to be big tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time in the morning. So that's going to be big, Mike. Of course, as we know, personal spending has been a pretty big deal lately. As inflation goes up, people tend to spend less and less, and they start to watch their money and, you know, stuff like that, because as we know, gas and the price of groceries and everything like that is just going through the roof. So we'll have to see how those numbers go. I don't think it's going to be anything groundbreaking for the market tomorrow, but, you know, you better keep your eye on it, because if it does come in, you know, like way over expectations or something, then we might end up seeing like some volatility on the SPY. But I don't think it's anything too crazy to end the week here.
Alrighty. Well, with that being said, Tom, let's get right into these momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Spotify to the downside.
Yeah, Spotify had a pretty bad tumble today. Go ahead and make them break down below $93 even.
All right. With the next one, we have Zoom, also to the downside.
Poor Zoom, down 3.4%. Make them break below 107.
All right. And with the last one, we have RCL, potentially to the upside.
Yeah, I hope they can recover. These cruise lines got killed this week. Go ahead and make them break above 35.40.
All right, so we're watching RCL for a potential day trade to the upside tomorrow, only if it breaks above the level Tom listed. And then we are watching Zoom and Spotify for potential day trades to the downside tomorrow, only if they break below the levels Tom listed. Tom, before we move on, let's look at those cruise lines a little bit more. Look, whether it's RCL, CCL, or NCLH, these cruise line stocks have been getting destroyed. Now, I like to trade and watch RCL, but they all basically move the same way. But RCL basically over the past couple of months went from highs of like $88 all the way down to lows of $33 today. That is insane.
Yeah, that is really big, Mike. I know there was some huge news earlier in the week, actually, with Carnival Cruise Lines, where Morgan Stanley slashed their earnings estimates. I remember they were actually, I think they were predicting a price on Carnival at like $14, and they came in and ended up slashing that down to $7 on Carnival. That really hurt all those cruise lines in general. They even said that Carnival could go to zero, Mike, if conditions get worse enough here. So I really hope that doesn't happen. But whenever you have a big bank saying things like your company could go to zero, of course, that's going to cause some volatility. And, you know, it's really unfortunate because travel was actually starting to pick up there for a little while. And as we can see on the chart, some of these cruise lines were starting to form some good supports before this big downtrend.
Very true. And they are pretty oversold right now. So I'll tell you, like, they're not looking too bad for a potential play to the upside just in terms of it being so oversold. I'm not talking about like a very long-term investment, but when you have a stock go from $88 down to 33 in like a month or two, a lot of times you at least see like a decent pop back up just like in terms of price action.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as like levels of the upside here, recently we popped up and hit up around $42. Even from where we are now, if we could retest 40 to 42, that would be a nice little pop out of the stock. And who knows, I even see a big resistance up there around $50. So I don't think that would be a bad trade, Mike. But as we know, it might take a couple months for it to start finally rising. And what I did also notice is that IV is starting to go up too, which shows some volatilities coming in.
Very true. All right. Well, I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Turk, in the YouTube comments. You've been first for the past couple of days and you're a giant supporter. So thank you so much, Turk. Thank you so much for all of the support on YouTube. Besides that, Tom, we're set for a volatile day in the market tomorrow. A lot of stocks sold off in a giant way today. And a lot of stocks and even the market itself is coming to a pretty big support level. Would you mind giving us the most important levels on the SPY before we close out?
Yeah, so SPY was in a bit of a channel today. As we know, 380 is posed as a pretty big resistance on the SPY over the past couple of months, actually, as we've been trading lower. But today we ran up to 380. So 380 is going to be a really big resistance level for tomorrow, guys. You could even say like 380.50. But definitely watch that level up there. I think that's going to be a huge resistance. As far as support to the downside, Mike, there's some intraday support here right around 374.50, but the main support I'm seeing down there is right around 372.50. I think that's going to be a big level for tomorrow. If we break below that with the SPY, I think we can end up seeing a pretty big sell-off. But yeah, it's channeling again. We were actually channeling yesterday too, Mike, and we ended up gapping down this morning. So hopefully we don't gap down again. That would make for some pretty bad price action in the morning. And, with the way stocks have been moving, I would not be surprised if we ended up going down again.
There we go. So guys, make sure to subscribe if you're new. We post a bunch of great videos and we also have a lot of exciting things in the works. So make sure to subscribe if you're new. Let us know what stocks you're watching in the comments down below. Besides that, let's have an amazing end to the week.